Hi, this is Matt with Bob Johnson's Computer Stuff. Today we're going to be doing a quick video on how to reinstall the Bluetooth on a CF19 Mark IV and on a CF31 Mark I. We're going to go ahead and we're going to start with the CF19 Mark IV. The first thing you'll want to do before opening your computer is remove the battery. You always want to remove your battery first before you do any kind of work on a computer. You don't want to have any power going to it as you're working on it. Once you have the battery removed, just go ahead and remove the screws holding up the bottom, holding the bottom plate on the bottom of the CF19. I've already done it to save time, but they're located along the bottom of the computer in various spots. Just remove all of the screws. And then once you have all the screws removed, just lift the top up. You can either use a flathead screwdriver and get under one of the corners and lift it up carefully, or you can grab the port covers and carefully lift up at that spot. I find that to be the easiest way to do it. And it can be a little difficult to get it open the first time you open it, but I've already had this open, so it opens right up for me. Now, the Bluetooth card is in the back underneath the wireless WAN board where you plug in the wireless WAN. It's on the bottom side of that board. So, just to make it a little bit easier so I have a little bit more room, I'm gonna remove the hard drive. You don't have to, it just gives you a little bit more working room. So you'll need a flathead screwdriver, and there are 4 screws you'll need to take out to remove this card here, the wireless WAN board. They'll be marked on the board by a little screw symbol next to the screws you need to remove, or at least they are on this board. Some boards it's marked, some boards it's not. There's 4 screws that you'll have to remove. They're silver. Just make sure not to lose any screws while you're doing this. Keep track of all your screws. Okay, before you actually lift the card up, you may want to remove the wireless WAN card just to get it out of the way if you have one installed. Not every CF19 has one installed. It's just 2 cables that pop up out of the way and 2 little screws that hold it in place. And then the card lifts up slightly and slides right out. Now there's a ribbon cable here connecting the wireless WAN board to the motherboard. I suggest that you disconnect it while you have it off. I would just disconnect it from the main board. There's a tab there. It's a gray tab right here, or I guess it's more brown. Some of them are gray, some of them are brown. It'll be flat at first, and you'll want to lift it up carefully. Be careful. If you break it, it's a motherboard replacement. You can't replace the part. So once you have that loosened, you can just gently pull the cable out of its spot, and the whole card will lift up out. And you'll see that there's a blue cable connected to the bottom of the board. It's actually the cable for the Bluetooth. It's run up along the bottom of the board, and you'll just have to disconnect it so you can get to the actual Bluetooth board to replace the board. The actual Bluetooth card is on the bottom. It's this card here. To remove it and replace it, you have to remove the remaining of the small silver screws on the top part of the board. And then once you remove the screws, there's a small ribbon cable that you'll want to disconnect from the wireless WAN board. You just, on either side of it, you'll see there's a little slider that you can slide back. Be careful not to break it. And then you can just carefully pull the Bluetooth cable, connector cable out. And then this is your actual Bluetooth card here. Once you have the Bluetooth card removed, go ahead and grab your replacement for the installation, or if you're just installing it, this is where you would put your card at. There's nothing wrong with this card, so I'm just going to reinstall it. This is just an example. So you would just line it up with the holes on the board for the screw holes. Slip the cable back into position. Into the connector here on the board. Slide the slider back in place to clamp it down, clamp the cable in place, and then flip the card back over and put the screws in that you removed to take the card out. Once those screws are put back in place, you can go ahead and flip this back over so you can reconnect the Bluetooth antenna cable, which is that blue cable that you disconnected earlier. And then just pop it into place. Just give me a second to get it positioned and in place. Okay, once the cable's in place, lift up the black and green cable for the wireless WAN card so they don't get stuck underneath of it. And then slide the wireless WAN board back in place. Put the cable back into the connector on the main board. And push the clamp back down to hold it into place once it's snugly in. And then you can go ahead and you can put the wireless WAN card back in. And then just go ahead and put the screws back in place, holding the board in position. Now, whether you have Bluetooth installed or not, your actual Bluetooth antenna is by default always installed in the CF19s. It's connected to the blue cable that we plugged into the Bluetooth card on the bottom, and I'll show you where that card goes. The cable runs through with some of the other cabling, the antennas and some of the screen cabling, through the swivel hinge of the CF19. So it can be kind of difficult to do that, to wire it, but luckily you shouldn't have to unless your Bluetooth car antenna was busted or removed for one reason or another, because most of the CF19s come with the Bluetooth antenna installed even if they don't have the Bluetooth. Your Bluetooth antenna is typically on the left hand side of your CF19 on the upper lid. There's two screws on the outer side and 2 screws on the inner side that hold it together. I've already removed them just for this example. You just remove those 2 screws and lift it out. And then the Bluetooth antenna is typically the lower one on the left hand side. And as you can see, if you look carefully, you may not be able to see it too well, but if you look on your own machine, you should see the Bluetooth cable going into this antenna here, which runs down through the swivel antenna and into the Bluetooth card itself. But like I said, by default, the Bluetooth antenna is already installed, so you shouldn't have to worry about that. Once you've installed your Bluetooth card, just go ahead and put your bottom plate back on, put all your screws back in, and for the next part, I'm going to show you how to do the software portion of the Bluetooth install. I'm going to show you on a different machine, so I don't have to spend the time to put that together on camera. I've already got one with the drivers already downloaded. Just give me a moment to get the computer powered on and in position. I'm going to use an external keyboard and mouse so I don't have to block your view of the screen of what I'm doing. Okay, so after installing your Bluetooth card, Windows should automatically pick up the drivers you need for your Bluetooth card. But the drivers that Microsoft will automatically install, in most cases, do not work well with most Bluetooth devices. So you'll have to go to Panasonic's website to download the correct Bluetooth drivers for your computer. To do so, just open up your preferred web browser. This just has Internet Explorer installed on here. Just give me a second to get it connected to our network. I forgot to connect it beforehand. And then once you're connected to the network and you're in a web browser, just go to Google and type in Panasonic drivers. And typically the first link is the one that'll take you where you need to go. It'll say downloads, computers and tablets, support at Panasonic. You'll click that link and it'll take you to a page on Panasonic's website. You'll click where it says drivers, BIOS, EC, and more. That'll take you to another page on their site. you'll click individual drivers, and then you'll fill out the fields here. The first one will be what kind of drivers you're looking for. I always choose all drivers, but if you know specifically what you're looking for, you can just choose whichever one you're looking for. But I always just choose all drivers. And then for model number, this here is a CF19 Mark IV or CF19R. So the first part is you put the CF19, and then it wants to know your model version. So you look for your version on the list. In this case, ours is CF19R. If you see yours on the list more than once, sometimes the drivers doesn't load up for every single selection here. Typically the first one will work, but if it doesn't, try the other ones for your version of CF19. As long as the generation is the same, the driver should work. So for example, if you have a CF19 RST or V or even W, it's a Mark IV. So just look for the first one that's listed as Mark IV and select it. Then you're going to need to choose your operating system. I'm using Windows 7 32-bit on this machine. If you're using it, just choose your operating system. If you're using 32-bit, choose 32-bit. If you're using 64-bit, you choose 64-bit. Then choose your language and click search. It'll show you all the drivers for your model computer. You'll want to scroll down until you see the one that says Bluetooth stack. And you'll want to choose it, click it, and then click download. I've already downloaded it. When you click download, it'll give you an option to run or to save. I've already saved it. You can click run or save if you're doing it on multiple computers, or if you're not going to do it right away. I would suggest saving it, which is what I've done. I've already got it in my downloads history, so I don't have to, my downloads folder, so I don't have to wait for it to download. So I'm just going to go ahead and go to the downloaded file and show you how to install it. Okay, so the driver right here is right here. It'll say Bluetooth stack driver version, and then whatever's the most current version that they have available. You'll go ahead and run the file. Now the files that you download from it'll ask you for permission to install it. To install it, go ahead and give it permission. This is just a licensing agreement. You can go ahead and click yes once you've looked over the licensing agreement. The files that you download from Panasonic's website don't directly install your drivers. They extract the files that you need to install the drivers, and the default location that it extracts to is on a folder on the C drive labeled util2, which you can change the default location at this page if you want. I recommend leaving it the default location. It just makes it easier to find your drivers further down the road if you ever have to reinstall your drivers for whatever reason. So just click OK, and you might need to give it a few minutes to finish extracting the files. When it's done extracting the files, it will pop up on the screen saying that the files have extracted. Okay, so the files are done extracting. Just go ahead and navigate to the util2 folder on your C drive. Go to drivers, Bluetooth, and then run the setup inside that folder. It'll ask you if it's okay for the drivers to install. It'll say that the verified publisher is Toshiba Corporation. I know the computer's a Panasonic, but they use a Toshiba Bluetooth card. So the drivers are going to be Toshiba is going to be made by Toshiba. So don't worry about that. Just go ahead and give it permission to run. And This one here is saying software is already installed. Do you want to continue installation? Click OK to uninstall current version automatically before installation. It's just saying that if you see this window, it's just saying that you've already got some version of the software installed and asking if you want to go ahead and uninstall the version and reinstall the software. So you'll go ahead and click OK and give it a minute, and it'll come up with the next window. It's just got to remove the program first so it can reinstall it. Now, if you haven't had the driver installed before, you won't have this part. It'll just come right up with the next window for you to continue the installation of the Bluetooth software. And this here is just saying, are you sure you want to delete all your connections for your Bluetooth settings? Because it's uninstalling the Bluetooth application. Just go ahead and click yes. You'll have to reinstall any of your Bluetooth devices after reinstalling the drivers. Now, while we wait for this to install, I'm going to show you where you can go to check to see if you have the proper drivers installed. Just go ahead and open up my computer and go to where it says System Properties and click on Device Manager, or just get the Device Manager any way you want. That's just a quick way to get to it. And you'll want to look under Bluetooth and Bluetooth radios. If it says generic Bluetooth adapter or Microsoft Bluetooth adapter or something like that, you know it's not the correct drivers. Once it's done installing the Bluetooth drivers, I'll show you the correct installation of the drivers. Once it gets to the actual installation of the drivers, just go ahead and click Next. Accept the agreement. Once you look over the licensing agreement, click Next, click Install. It'll take a moment to install the drivers. You just have to be patient while you wait for the drivers to install. The speed at which the drivers install depends on the hard drive you have in the computer, the processor, and the amount of RAM you have in your computer. This computer only has 2 gigs of RAM in it at the moment, I believe. So it's going to take a little bit longer than if I had 8 gigs of RAM. And it's got a standard hard drive in it. If you have a solid state drive in there, the solid state drives are faster and more reliable than the standard hard drive. So that would also increase the speed of the install. As for the Mark IV CF19s, they have Intel Core i5 processors in them. If it seems to be getting caught up, you can open up the driver software installation if it's available. It'll show up under the system tray to the left of the clock and the date. You'll click on the little button that says, when you hover over it, it'll say show hidden icons, and just locate for where it says installing driver software. If it says searching Windows Update, go ahead and skip obtaining Windows driver software from Windows Update, because it's already installing drivers, but it can't finish installing it until this searches the Windows updates for it, and sometimes that can take a while. Okay, so according to this, the Bluetooth is installed. It'll ask you to restart your computer once you finish installing the drivers. And then once it restarts, the drivers will be all installed. So go ahead and restart your computer to finish the installation of the drivers. I'm just going to go ahead and shut the computer down and move on to the next one. Okay, so the next one is going to be the CF31. Give me a moment to get it in position, and we'll go about showing you the steps to take to install the GPS, to install the Bluetooth on the CF31. Okay. On the CF31, the first thing you want to do, just as with any other computer, is remove the battery before you start. Then after you remove the battery, go ahead and remove all of the screws from the bottom plate. I've already done this ahead of time to save time, but they're located along the outer edge of the CF31. And there's 6 screws that are also recessed into the computer. The ones that are recessed into the computer are longer than the ones around the outer edge. Once you remove all of the screws, you can open up the bottom plate. You can do that using a flathead screwdriver. Just carefully get under the edge and pry it open. The first time it's opened, it may be a little more difficult to open. I've already had this machine open, so it opened up pretty easily for me. Now, your Bluetooth on this specific unit, on the CF31 Mark 1s, and it's located underneath the wireless WAN board, the board that the wireless WAN card actually installs to. So, the first thing you're going to need to do once you have the bottom plate off is to remove the wireless WAN card if you have one installed. Start by just disconnecting the cables going to it, and then there's 2 small silver screws holding it in position. Go ahead and remove those screws. Be careful not to lose them. And then the card will lift up and pull out. Once that's done, there's 4 screws that you need to remove to get the board up and out of the way, and there's 2 cables you need to remove. You can remove the screws first or the cables first. It doesn't matter, as long as they're all disconnected and removed before you try to lift the board up. The first cable is this one here in the back. There's a brown plastic piece on top of this white piece here that holds it and connects it to the board. You can carefully just lift that up. You can either use your fingernail or you can use if you're careful, you can use a flathead screwdriver. Be careful not to break that. If you break that, you have to replace this board here, the wireless WAN board. Once you lift it up, you can just carefully pull the cable out of place and then move to the next cable, which is over here. This is actually the connection cable going from the Bluetooth card to the wireless WAN board. It's the same kind of connector, just smaller. Just carefully lift it up. And carefully pull the cable out of its spot. Once the cables are disconnected, you can go ahead and remove the 4 screws. Or if you chose to do the 4 screws afterwards, you can just lift it up, which I'll show you here in a second. Once you have the cables and the 4 screws removed, just go ahead and gently lift it up, starting on the side closest to the memory, to the RAM, and then pull it out away from the edge of the computer. There's a black piece of plastic that covers the corner, the bottom corner where the SIM card will go in. Just go ahead and push that back into its place. It doesn't need to come out. Go ahead and just remove the wireless WAN board and set it to the side for now. Now, this little board here is right underneath the wireless WAN board. This is the actual Bluetooth board. You can see the blue Bluetooth antenna cable running to it. It runs up underneath the GPS if you have a GPS installed. And it runs underneath of it or right beside it, depending on how it was wired. And it'll come through on this in this area here. There's a gray or white piece of plastic that separates all the wiring. It'll run through there and then up and into the upper side of the bottom base of the CF31, which I'll show you where it runs to after we remove this card. Now, to remove the card, just go ahead and lift up the blue cable that connects the Bluetooth antenna to the Bluetooth card. And there's 2 screws. One in this lower corner here of the Bluetooth card and one in the upper corner. And the one in the upper corner is underneath the white connector cable that connects it to the wireless WAN board. You don't have to remove the cable off or the adhesive off that holds it onto there. You can just lift it up gently and remove the screw underneath of it. Once you have the 2 screws removed, the card should just come right up. This is what the card looks like. Once you have the card removed, go ahead and put your replacement card in, or if you're just installing it, go ahead and install the card, get the card ready to be installed. In this example, it's just an example. The card's not bad. I don't need to replace it. So I'm just going to put the same one back in that I just removed. The first, just line it back up in its position and put the screws back into place where they were when you originally removed them. Make sure to reconnect the Bluetooth antenna cable to the Bluetooth board. And make sure to push it out of the way so it doesn't get pinched or block the screw holes for the wireless WAN board. Now go ahead and lift up the cables out of the way so you can slide the wireless WAN board back in its position. You don't want to pinch any of the wiring, so make sure, like I said, make sure it's out of the way. And then it should just slide right back into position. And you can start with putting the screws back in place. There should be a total of 4 of them holding the wireless WAN board in place. Then just reconnect your cables going to the wireless WAN board. This upper cable is actually the cable that connects it to the motherboard. This white cable is just the cable that connects the Bluetooth card to the wireless WAN board, which then connects it through the other cable to the motherboard. Just slide the cables back in place and firmly click the connectors back on. And if you had a wireless WAN card installed, which this unit did, go ahead and reinsert it. Pull the cables back out of the way, push it back down, put the screws in place, and reconnect the cables. Now, once the cables and everything are back in position, you can go ahead and put the bottom plate back on and put the screws all back into position, holding the plate back in place. I'll now show you how to locate the Bluetooth antenna on the CF31 Mark I. The Bluetooth antenna on the CF31 Mark I is actually underneath the black protective cover, the black plastic protective cover above the keyboard. There is 3 screws you'll have to remove. I've already done it, but this is where they'll be. Just go ahead and remove those 3 screws. And you can get a flathead screwdriver and right between, in the crack between that black plastic piece and the keyboard, just gently insert it and lift up the cover above it. You may need to do this in several locations in order to get it to pop out of its position. Then just lift it up out of the way. The Bluetooth antenna is this board here. As you can see, it runs underneath this silver plate here. This silver plate is held on by 2 screws. You can, if you need to install or replace the Bluetooth antenna, you can just remove those 2 screws. It's not as difficult to replace the Bluetooth antenna on this unit as it is on the CF19s. Now keep in mind, if you have to replace the Bluetooth antenna, the bottom plate has to be off, and the Bluetooth card has to be accessible so you can rerun the cable. But this is just, I'm just showing you where it's at. Once you remove the silver plate, there's a black plastic piece that's underneath it that just lifts up out of position. It has a little bit of foam padding on the bottom side of the black plastic piece. It just covers up the wires so that the wires aren't exposed. And as you can see, the blue cable runs down into the bottom of the computer from this location here. I'm just going to put this back together for now, and then I will show you the steps to installing the software for the CF31. They're virtually the same steps as installing the drivers for the CF19 for the Bluetooth. and the driver is actually almost the same as well. Just give me a moment to get this CF31 out the way and get the other CF31 back into position and powered on. And I will show you the software installation for the Bluetooth on the CF31. Now, it's the same general steps, like I said, as the CF8, as the CF19. It's the same general steps for the CF31. You'll go to the same location as I showed you for the CF19 to get the drivers for the CF31. You'll just put in CF31 as your model instead of CF19. To save time, I'm not going to redo that since I've already shown you on the CF19 where to go. You can just follow the steps there, or you can easily find it just by Googling Panasonic drivers. It's the first link. Choose individual drivers. I already have the driver downloaded. Just look for the Bluetooth stack driver and download that off of the drivers list on Panasonic's website. Now I'm just going to go to my downloads from where I have the Bluetooth driver already downloaded. Go ahead and run it. It's the same kind of setup as the CF19. It's going to ask you permission. Go ahead and give it permission. Go ahead and accept the licensing agreement. I advise you leave it to extract the files in the same default location just to make it easier on yourself. Click OK. And give it a few minutes to extract the files. It'll pop up and say when the files are done extracting. The files done extracting. Go ahead and navigate to the Bluetooth folder underneath the drivers, underneath the Utel2 folder right on the C drive. Go ahead and run the setup. Give it permission to install the drivers. If you've already got the driver software installed, you'll have to click OK for it to uninstall the old version and reinstall the software. If not, just proceed with the installation. Now, since this already had the Bluetooth drivers on it, it's just uninstalling the software real quick, and then it'll proceed and on to the next step afterwards. It's just asking you if it's okay to remove all the devices, which you have to do to uninstall the software and reinstall the software. So just go ahead and click yes. You'll have to reinstall your Bluetooth devices afterwards. May take a few minutes. Just give it its time to get the software uninstalled, so it can reinstall the drivers. Once it pops up saying installing drivers per device, you know it's starting to install the Bluetooth drivers. You should see it start to come up with the window to actually start installing the Bluetooth drivers. Go ahead and click next. Accept the licensing agreements, click next, click install. And then you'll see, after a few moments, you'll see another device begin to start to install here. And you want to tell it to, if you want to speed the process up, you'll want to tell it to skip searching windows for drivers. It'll just make the process faster. Okay, so it's now finished with installing the drivers. Go ahead and, in your example, just go ahead and click yes to restart the computer to finish installing the drivers. I'm going to just shut the computer down. Let me show you first, beforehand, what the driver should look like in Device Manager after you have it installed properly. When you look under Bluetooth, you'll see Bluetooth under the Device Manager. You'll see where it says Bluetooth RFBUS, Bluetooth RFCOMM, and Bluetooth RFHID and USB Bluetooth driver. That's roughly what you should see if you have the drivers installed properly. Once your computer is finished restarting, your Bluetooth should be installed properly and you should be able to add your devices with no problem. So that's it for today's video. If you have any questions or comments, just let us know. I can be reached at our tech support email, which is tech_support@bobjohnson.com, or you can give us a call at 877-202-7788. Thank you.